Our co-hosts on this fine day include Michael Hornby.
Morning, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Michael Height.
Good morning, sir.
Who's not with us on the Friday show tomorrow.
I am not. I will be helping the Fulton Walker golf tournament with my skills as a golfer.
Yeah.
Now that was funny.
Your friend is laughing at you blatantly and openly.
That's because he's seen me golf.
He's the only man that's ever broken an ankle playing golf.
How did you break an ankle?
First time we ever golfed
on
together.
The first hole. It was at Wayne Clark's course.
Yeah.
It's Wayne's fault.
I'm going to blame it on Wayne. Actually, it wasn't
He
Wayne's at the
basically
time.
fell out of the cart, but he finished the whole 18 holes.
baby.
Black and blue, limping.
18.
You gutted it out with a broken ankle?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well.
Badger's tough. Pass this along again in case you missed it last segment. Magistrate David DeHaven has resigned his position, effective immediately. No reason given. That's the text that I received in regards to that. DeHaven, of course, was the magistrate who was seated when Joe DeSoto was up in his situation and was given home confinement and released from prison.
No comment.
So, and I know that probably the safest thing for the two of you is to not comment on that. Be careful with your golf cart tomorrow. Did you see what happened with John Elway's agent and friend?
I did. That's tragic.
Can you
wow.
believe that? Guy fell out of the golf cart while they were driving back on the course from a tournament, hit his head, never regained consciousness, and died.
That's crazy. All the times I've been in a golf cart doing stupid things. Probably Hornby was driving.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah.
Yeah, you just got to be careful. You never know.
Wow.
Our guest in this segment is Jason Murphy of Shepherdstown Shares. Jason, good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You reached out to Mr. Hornby.
Yep.
And he gave me your information so we could get you scheduled on the show. What is Shepherdstown Shares?
So Shepherdstown Shares is a nonprofit I work with. It was founded back in 2018, 2019. If you remember, that's when we had the one government shutdown. And Shepherdstown has a lot of government workers, between the USDA and Leetown and IRS and people who travel down to the city. And when that shutdown happened, everyone kind of knew it was going to be a long one, and no one knew if they were going to have back pay. And so people in the town kind of got together and said, hey, let's help out our neighbors, and put together a food bank. And it was a really good one. The community really rallied together, and we provided a whole lot of food to our friends and neighbors who were out of work. The shutdown ended, and that crisis was over, and they basically shut down the project. It was a response to a crisis. But then COVID hit a year later, and then we found a whole new crisis happening. All of our service workers, the people who worked at like the different restaurants and retail shops, were immediately out of a job. And then as the pandemic went on, whole hosts of people were having their incomes impacted. So the same people basically got together and said, hey, we need to bring this back. They got a space at a chapel at a local church, incorporated as a nonprofit, and really hit the ground running and started feeding people left and right. And it's not your normal food pantry that has a couple of things of dried goods and canned goods. It focuses on having fresh meat, fresh vegetables, local vegetables, full groceries. And back during the pandemic, it started out we were feeding about 100 people. As the pandemic went on, that number kept growing and growing. And then the group realized we've got another crisis going on that is not incident-based, where we have, just a pandemic or a government shutdown happening. But in this area, we have people who are on D.C. suburbs standard of living, but West Virginia wages. And there's a real kind of food insecurity issue happening. And so we started basically expanding it. We've now gotten to the point where we feed 240 families and roughly 700 individuals a month.
Goodness.
It's a very inspiring project, and the people who started it, I think, were wonderful visionaries, and we have a whole host of volunteers and donors who keep us sustained, and it's an amazingly cool thing to witness.
And what can we do for you today?
Well, what we've been seeing is, as you've probably been hearing, we have DOGE that has come along, and in the first round of cuts that happened with DOGE, one of the things they targeted was the USDA. The USDA has two programs, and that directly affect what we do. The first one is something called the Commodities Credit Corporation, and it's a really interesting program. What it does is it takes U.S. money, buys farm products from U.S. farmers, and then channels it to food banks, to school lunch programs, and to Head Start programs. That got cut early in this administration. And then a few weeks ago, the other program, known as TFAP, which is the Emergency Food Assistance Program, that sends about $1 billion to food banks around the country. And $1 billion sounds like a lot to us. I mean, being in the legislature, that's change to you guys sometimes, but in West Virginia, it's a lot of money.
It's 20% of the state's budget.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
But on the federal level, it's a drop in the bucket.
Sure.
Well, the Emergency Food Assistance Program directly funds food banks, and that got cut to zero. One of the things that's been really nice about Shepherdstown Shares is we develop a whole lot of partnerships. We've partnered with Martin's and Food Lion and Weiss, where like if they have something that's about to go off label tonight, they'll give it to us this morning so we can hand it out to people before the sell by date. We have some places like Starbucks and Panera that'll give us bread and all these little sandwiches, and we partner with a number of local farms. But our biggest partnership is with a group known as Mountaineer Food Bank, and being in the legislature, I'm sure you've heard of them. Mountaineer Food Bank sends out food all across the country. All across the state, and they have two things that they offer us. The first is Mountaineer Food Bank can buy at grocery store prices themselves, like as distributors, and they will sell to food banks at cost. And we have to take a lot of our money that we get in donations and literally buy food. And sometimes we are going to Costco and Sam's Club and all these places and buying food at retail in bulk. But we buy a lot that we can from them at cost. They also, however, give us a list, and up until recently, it was pages, line items of things we could get for free. And it might be 25 pounds of bacon, 30 pounds of potatoes, 20 pounds of butter, and it was free. Mm-hmm. Prior to the last few months, they were sending out, if my understanding is correct, about 36 truckloads of food a week around the state of West Virginia. That's now been reduced to zero. That's a lot of food not going to a lot of people. They end up being about 50 to 60% of the food that we use to feed 700 people. And it's been taken away. It's a sad situation. We have, unfortunately, in our society, people on the margins we often don't see or hear. And these are needs that end up kind of going unnoticed and unmet. But we see them every day. They show up at our pantry, and people have told us sometimes this is half the food they have for the whole week. And I've personally been lobbying our senator. We're both senators, Senator Capito and Senator Justice, and I've been calling Riley Moore almost daily. Some of their staffers are probably pretty annoyed with me at this point. But after over a month or so of lobbying them and telling them, you have 400 constituents we will not be able to feed in just one county, we've gotten no response, no action, nothing more than we're going to pass this along. And I tried starting a month ago because we knew these cuts were coming, and I wanted to get ahead of it. I mean, I know the wheels of government take time, but when it comes to feeding people, that can't wait. This week is the week we are running into a shortage. This is the week where instead of us giving people half their weeks of groceries, we might give them a couple days of groceries at best. And I personally am starting to lose faith in our elected representatives at the federal level, because this isn't a problem you fellas can address. Unfortunately, I think you'll start having this knocking on your door.
Are you saying that all of Mountaineer Food Bank has stopped shipping out all their food? Like to CCAP Loaves and Fishes, to all the different counties?
From what I've been playing phone tag with Mountaineer Food Bank. Okay. They're still sending out food, mm-hmm. but they would get a huge portion from USDA, from the TFAP program, and that's what's been cut. That all the free food that they get is now gone. The list we used to get from them of free stuff was pages. And the last one I saw 2 weeks ago was 4 items. And we could get one of those 4 items if all the other places in the state didn't take them first. And I heard from our board meeting the other night, our one person reported that there's metal brackets we can get that are still free. But I mean, they're high in iron, but not very palatable. So that kind of a thing is happening on the national level. And, we are one agency in one county of 55, and it's affecting 400 people just with us. I can't imagine how many, and this is, I think, something that can't go unspoken, is that West Virginia, we're not exactly the richest state. We do better than Mississippi a lot of times and a couple other ones, but we don't have the funding that, say, New York or Illinois has. But in Jefferson County, we're one of the probably 4 most affluent counties, and Berkeley County is another one of those 4 in the whole state. And in Jefferson County, we have 5 food banks. So the most affluent parts of our state have this kind of need. What's it like in McDowell and Ritchie and the deeper parts of the state that don't have the bandwidth and the economic footprint to really address this situation? So I guess I'm here today to try to say, how do we get the word out that this is something that needs assistance all across the state?
And your immediate need is to get more food into your local food bank.
Right. Yeah, that's an immediate need.
And where can those donations be made, and what are you looking for?
Well, people can always come to us. We have on Shepherdstown Shares. We take donations of food.
Where though?
Is at our food pantry. It's on at the church on Sherman Street. That's the pantry at Trinity. And we also take donations monetarily, and pretty much everything. Every dollar we get goes to feeding people. We do have a pantry manager. We've grown to the point we have a hired pantry manager that we pay. Mm-hmm. But that's the only money that comes out of the money that doesn't go straight to feeding people. And it's not just us, though. I mean, I'm here talking and plugging about our agency, but I'm most concerned about this is something that goes far beyond just Shepherdstown, and it needs attention on the state and national level, because this is going to be affecting hundreds of thousands of people across the country, tens of thousands across West Virginia.
Wouldn't the prudent thing to do is make this? I mean, you did say we have 5 food banks within Jefferson County. That's obviously because Jefferson County is a little more affluent, and people can give more. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should be going to our communities and saying, "Hey, we need to remember that it's up to us to give to the food banks too. It might not be the feds that save the day all the time.
That's actually
maybe we need to do that as a community kind of."
That's actually one of the points I wanted to make today is, I mean, I'm losing a little bit of faith in our federal government and our representatives on that level. And one of the things when I've been working with Shepherdstown Shares that has been really beautiful and inspiring is if there's a need and people hear about it, the community does rally. And in ways that are, I mean, can bring tears to your eyes sometimes, the way you see people show up to help their neighbors. That is, I'm hoping there'll be a few people who hear this who decide they want to become volunteers and help out, or they want to become donors and help out, or a local farm that wants to partner with us and let us buy from them, because that's one of the things we do. However, in government, there's a lot of candles burning, a lot of midnight oil being burnt. And I'm of the opinion that if, of all the things we do, building bridges and schools and tax policy, if we can't keep our neighbors fed, nothing else matters. Like on the top of the priority list, keep living human beings alive. Basic sustenance. I mean, in nature, in creation, we are the vehicles of love. We are the vehicles of suffering. We are the vehicles of mercy. And if we cannot value each other enough to just make sure there's enough food in their bellies to get them through the day, what does anything else we do matter?
How does an individual become part of your program? Do they come
to receive
and
food?
To receive food? Do they come and make application? Mm-hmm. Are there qualifications?
There's no qualifications except for one. People just show up at our pantry. We have pickup days three times a week: Monday night, Thursday night, and Saturday morning. They show up. Now because we can't feed everybody, we've made a decision to serve the 25443 zip code. Now, if someone shows up at our pantry and they're from Martinsburg and they're hungry, we give them food. We do it once, and then we give them a list of stuff that's closer to them and try to direct them to something that's more local. So we don't let anyone leave hungry the first time, and but we can't feed all of Berkeley County and Morgan County and Jefferson County. So we don't let anyone away hungry. But when they show up, we just have an application form. It's very simple. You can fill it out in 3 minutes. We do keep it confidential. We don't share it with anyone else. And we'll just ask some things like, basic household size, needs, stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah.
Are most of your people, are they families? Are they homeless? Are they everything in between?
It's everything. I mean, you'll have people who, man, there's so many things. You'll have somebody who's a grandmother who inherited the grandkids. Something happened with mom and dad, and now they're on a fixed income with kids. You have single mothers who left an abusive situation, whether they could afford it or not. You have somebody who the breadwinner came down with a diagnosis or was in an accident. And then you'll just have people who they've been working, and rents keep going up, prices keep going up, and their income doesn't. You also have people, I've seen friends show up who I've always thought, how'd you get so far ahead of me in life? And then life throws them a curveball, and suddenly they're showing up at the food pantry. And one of the things I love about the people who work with us is there's no judgment. It doesn't matter who you are. When you show up, you're a friend, and it's, hey, glad you're here. Hope this makes your day better.
We talked to folks from the backpack program locally. I think they probably work with 700 kids this year, I think the number is. Do you have any idea if some of your people overlap?
Oh, I'm sure
them?
they do. Yeah. I mean, I do hear some of that, like the specifics I couldn't tell you. But yeah.
Here's where I am with this, because we've been doing these interviews for years, right? And this area probably has the lowest unemployment rate in the state.
Sure.
Right? Probably pays the highest wages in the state. It's, as you said, one of the most affluent counties in the state. And there's probably 20 organizations that provide food and assistance and relief, and it seems like it just more and more every year. The need continues to grow. It's like we're trying to take a bucket and take the sinking ship and get the water out of the boat before the whole thing sinks. And I don't know if there's an ending in sight to this, but I also don't know what else can be done. It just seems like there are so many programs to address these families, but there still are more families every year. The number keeps going up.
I mean, if you want to go back to the Bible, Christ said, the poor will always be with you. We're never going to fully empty that boat. But what we're seeing right now is a crisis being created. There were multiple patches on that boat that was keeping water from coming in. And in the last couple months, they've ripped them off. And, those patches have come off the boat, and now water's coming in. And it's kind of, on the federal level, they're saying sink or swim. And you can't let people sink like this. And it's very disheartening.
So what's the answer? Because it's not going to be coming from the federal government.
Well,
so what is the answer?
It could be, because this was congressionally appropriated money.
It's not coming back.
It could.
It's not.
Well,
I'm telling you, it's not.
Yeah.
You've seen the news. You know what the mood is right now. It's not coming back. You got to find this someplace else. What's your plan going to be?
One of the things I think you'll see is when people get hungry, the mood starts to shift on the ground base, and then that money might need to come back.
Well, that may be true, but that would still take some time. What about this week, this month?
This month, I would hope that if there's anyone listening, individuals or organizations, churches, if this moves you, get in touch with us or get in touch with another food bank or another program in your area and get involved, because the wheels of government are capricious and slow at times, but the community I've seen is filled with good people. And I think our government's filled with good people who are also sometimes just constrained by what's the situation they find themselves in. But I see good people, and when good people see others suffering, I see them step up. So get involved if you can. One other thing that's happened is, I don't know if you heard, AmeriCorps is being dismantled. Well, one of the partnerships we've come up with is something called Tabler Farm. It's a teaching farm. Shepherdstown Shares buys them about $8,000 worth of seed every year and to get their farm going. And then they give us back about $16,000 in produce. It's a real good money saver. Sure. Well, their farm is run by AmeriCorps volunteers. They just lost their field crew for the summer. Now we're going, okay, we just gave out $8,000. Now, I know the people who run it are diligent, good people. They're going to do everything they can, but we're going, how are you going to pull this off now? There's cuts that are happening that we're all suffering from in ways that people aren't going to notice for 6 months. But the hunger crisis we're seeing right now, So if you guys as state legislators, if you can take this to our state Congress and say, hey, there's a need going to be coming. What do we do to stem the flow of this? What do we do to stop the bleeding?
I think there's another issue there. You talk about the federal aid going away and patches coming off the boat. I think there's also another issue where the boat seems to be fuller than it used to be.
Which
There's
was my
more
point
people
before.
in the boat.
Yeah.
So what is it that is causing more people to be in the boat and in this situation? And how do we address that so there isn't the need that there is right now?
I need a 30-second answer because
I can give you an anecdotal answer. I moved to Shepherdstown in 1990, and I made about $12 to $15 an hour working a job.
which was good paying.
Which was good pay. But my rent was $410 divided by 3 people. That same apartment now is $1,700, but you still make $12 to $15 an hour. It's what, 30 some years later?
Cost of living here has gone up extraordinarily.